Hi guys, this week we're talking about different types of severe weather. First, we're going to talk about thunderstorms. Thunderstorms are also known as electrical storms. They're characterized by the presence of lightning and thunder. Thunderstorms happen when rising air causes cumulus clouds to build upward into a thunderhead. So these were cumulus clouds, this shelf cloud, and the cloud has built upwards until it's become a cumulonimbus cloud. It's actually one word, I just couldn't fit it on there. And those are also known as thunderheads. These clouds typically lead to wind, rain, and hail, but sometimes have no precipitation at all. You can see here that's what's happening is the wet air is cycling upwards. It's also warm, that's why the arrows are red. And then it's cooling up here at the top. This is the freezing level and is cycling back downwards. So inside the cloud is this cycling motion that's producing the thunderstorm. Typically, thunderstorms don't produce a whole lot of damage, but they can be really severe and can lead to power outages and downed trees, which affect humans. When thunderstorms are very severe, they can lead to tornadoes, which are violently whirling winds, sometimes visible as a funnel cloud like this one. Sometimes you can't see the funnel cloud. The rotating funnel of air is also called a vortex. It's only visible when there's dirt and debris that's getting blown up. So if it's in a place where there's not a lot of dust, then the funnel cloud can actually be invisible. Tornadoes typically occur in the middle of the United States, east of the Rocky Mountains, which are about here, and west of the Appalachian Mountains, which are about here. Of course, we do get some of them in North Carolina, but the worst ones are in Tornado Alley, which is about this area in here. In the United States, we get about 800 tornadoes per year, and there is no tornado season, but they're typically in the spring and summer. And also usually in the late afternoon or early evening, which makes sense because as the day gets hotter and hotter, thunderstorms become more likely. Also, tornadoes occur usually along cold fronts and are considered to be low pressure storms, very, very low pressure storms. This image just shows you that air is cycling in an upwards motion. The red arrows are the warm air. And then the blue arrows are the actual tornadoes. So tornadoes can be on the ground from just a few seconds to several hours, but about 5 minutes is the average. When meteorologists warn about tornadoes coming, there are two words that they might use. And those are watch, which means that conditions are favorable for a tornado to develop, but no tornadoes have been spotted yet. And the other is warning, which means that a tornado has been spotted. And so a warning is more severe than a watch. The scale used to measure tornadoes is called the Enhanced Fujita scale, as you see right here. It ranges from 0 to 5, depending on the wind speeds of the tornado and the amount of damage that's produced. So the greatest amount of damage is an EF5, which is greater than 200 mile per hour winds and is something that would cause incredible damage. These F5 tornadoes don't happen very often, but when they do, they can be completely devastating to whole towns. The next type of severe weather we're going to talk about are hurricanes. Hurricanes are called hurricanes here because they're in the Atlantic Ocean, but in the Pacific, they're called typhoons, and in the Indian Ocean, they're called cyclones. Hurricanes are giant storms, and they rotate counterclockwise. They always form over the ocean and near the equator. Here's a map that shows where hurricanes typically form. The yellow areas are places where hurricanes are able to form, but they very rarely form in the South Atlantic, which is right near North Carolina. So most of our hurricanes come from over here near Africa and come over here to our coast. Hurricanes are very low pressure systems, just like tornadoes. And here's a graphic that shows how they form. The warm, moist air cycles and descending air comes down from above. This is cooler air that's sinking. This is what forms the eye of the hurricane. Hurricanes actually have such low pressure that they have the lowest pressures ever recorded in a storm. And this pressure difference is what leads to the inward spiraling of the winds. So the winds are not going outwards, they're spiraling towards the middle, towards the eye. As you may have noticed with the path of Hurricane Matthew, if you watch the news, the predictions as to where the hurricane was going to land changed a lot. And that's because when you watch TV, what you see is the meteorologist's prediction, which is the best prediction at that time. But actually, what the meteorologist is looking at is all the possible paths that the hurricane could take depending on wind currents and ocean currents and the different pressure systems that are moving through the area. So they see something like this, and they pick the one that is most likely, and that's what you see. So tracking a storm like this is definitely not an easy feat, although technology has made it a lot easier to do this. When a hurricane is born, it starts out as a tropical depression. And there are a lot of storms that actually never make it past tropical depression or tropical storm, but they are named as soon as they become tropical depressions. If the winds reach 74 miles per hour, then the storm is considered to be a hurricane. And the categories go from 1 to 5, 5 being the worst. So the images here are from Hurricane Katrina, which was, of course, a Category 5 storm, 2005. And that was in New Orleans, Louisiana. And then the other image is from Hurricane Matthew, very recently in Raleigh, which was a Category 2 storm. You can see that it still caused a lot of damage, especially in eastern North Carolina due to the flooding. So a lot of people have said that we need a new hurricane ranking system because the ranking system looks at winds and the storm surge, but doesn't look at flooding. And Hurricane Matthew was only a Category 2 storm, which wasn't even a direct hit for us, but we're still very much recovering in eastern North Carolina. Some places just went back to school last week. Also, you can see here are the different names. These are the names for 2016 right here and then onwards. The names recycle every 6 years unless they're retired. And if the storm is a Category 5 storm or causes a really huge amount of damage, then the name will be retired and not reused. So Katrina is retired, Sandy is retired, and the names also are different in the other oceans. So if it's not a hurricane, if it's a typhoon or a cyclone, the names are different. The last type of severe weather we're going to talk about today are winter storms, which can include blizzards, ice storms, and large accumulations of snow. These winter storms are formed when there are quickly moving cold fronts. So here's a cold front right here, the blue triangles. It's moving across the middle of the United States, and it's going to produce some high winds, low temperatures, which can lead to winter storms. A lot of times we think of winter storms as being really fun, great things because we don't have to go to school, but the truth is that they can cause a lot of damage. So these trees that are covered in ice, like we saw last winter, can lead to a lot of power loss. When it's very cold and there's no power, people can be in danger of hypothermia and a lot of, danger related to being extremely cold. Here again are our precipitation types. Depending on where the cold air mass is, we can have snow or sleet or freezing rain, and they all can be very dangerous for different reasons. Okay, that's it for severe weather this week. Don't forget to do your discussion post, and I'll see you next time. Bye.